All right, welcome to Chapter 16 Homework Starter Question 2. Remember, there are three homework starters for Chapter 16. There's video 1, so go back and watch that. And then there's video 3. You can watch that next. And video 1 is question 1. Video 2, which is this video, is question 2. Video 3, which is the next video, is question 3. So let's get started. The question says here, use the following information for the exercises below. The first production department in a process manufacturing system reports the following unit data. Beginning work in process inventory is 24,000 units. Units started and completed, 56,000 units. Units completed and transferred out, 80,000 units. And ending work in process inventory, 16,000 units. And it says, prepare the production department's equivalent units of production for direct materials under each of the following three separate assumptions using the weighted average method for process costing. And I created my table here in Word to be able to demonstrate to you how to complete this. But this has already been done for you, the layout, the template in Connect. So you don't need to reproduce this. You just need to enter in the information. Okay. So the one thing I want, you'll see me looking down first of all, and I'm looking down because I'm using the calculator on my phone. But the first thing I want you to pay attention to here is that the beginning work in process inventory, which is 24,000, plus the units started and completed, which is 56,000, equal the units completed and transferred out, which is 80,000. So for purposes of this question, we're only going to be looking at units completed and transferred out and then work in process inventory. Again, why are we doing that? Because the beginning work in process inventory, 24,000, it has been completed and transferred out. And then the units started and completed, 56,000, that has also been completed and transferred out. And we know that because those two numbers added together give us the units completed and transferred out of 80,000, okay? And typically within the production cycle, the beginning work in process inventory is usually completed. And then the units started and completed, it tells you that they were started and that they were completed. So those were completed and transferred out as well. Hopefully that makes sense. But let's go back to the table. So for the first one, it says all direct, let me bold it. It says all direct materials are added to products when processing begins. Okay. So remember, we're only concerned with completed and transferred out because the beginning work in process and the unit starting completed are encapsulated or included in the completed and transferred out. So from the drop down, you're going to select completed and transferred out. And it told us that 80,000 units were completed and transferred out. Okay. And then it says all direct materials are added to products when processing begins. So all the direct materials have already been added into these. They've been completed. They've been transferred to the next department. All the direct materials have been added at the beginning of the process. So the percent complete for direct materials is 100%. Okay. And so the equivalent units of production is 100% of 80,000, which is 80,000. Next, remember, the only other thing we're concerned with is the ending work in process inventory. That has not been completed and transferred out, and it will become the beginning inventory next cycle. But because it has not been completed and transferred out, we need to add that in here. So ending work in process. All right, and it told us that the ending work in process are 16,000 units. Now, even though these are still in process, it told us, the question tells us, all direct materials are added to products when the processing begins. And the process began on these, okay? So even though they were not completed and transferred out, we still began the process. And the question tells us all direct materials are added when the process begins. So the percent complete for these ones, respective of direct materials, with respect to direct materials, I should say, is 100%. And so this will be 16,000 because 100% of 16,000 is 16,000. So then your totals here would be 96,000 and the equivalent units of production would be 96,000 with respect to direct materials. Because remember, we're just looking at direct materials right now. Okay. Part 2. Beginning inventory is 40% complete as to direct materials cost. Ending inventory is 75% complete as to direct materials cost. So again, we're only concerned with our completed and transferred out because that includes the beginning and the started and completed. So completed and transferred out, 80,000. And our ending work in process, we're concerned with that because it has not been completed. That's 16,000. So we're just going to put those here. And we're going to put our total, which is 96,000 units. All right. But the question says, beginning inventory is 40% complete as to direct materials cost. Ending inventory is 75% complete as to direct materials cost. We have no beginning inventory because, again, the beginning inventory was it was completed this cycle. And part of this completed and transferred out. Okay. So we're just going to put 100% here again. And the equivalent units of production is 100% of 80,000, which is 80,000. Now the ending work in process, it says the ending inventory is 75% complete as to direct materials. So this is telling us now that not all the direct materials have been added into our ending work in process. How much has been added in? It says 75%. So now we need to get our calculator and we need to find 75%. So 75 divided by 100 times 16,000. And that gives us 12,000. And these two added together gives us 92,000. So with respect to my direct materials, the equivalent units of production completed are 92,000. Okay. Part 3, last part. Beginning inventory is 60% complete as to direct materials. Ending inventory is 30% complete as to direct materials. So I'm going to put here again my completed and transferred out. So they're telling you what the beginning inventory is to kind of trick you, okay? You don't really care about that because again, your beginning inventory, along with the units that were started and completed this cycle, all make up this completed and transferred out of 80,000. Okay, so 80,000 units. And since they're complete, we added all the direct materials. So we're going to put 100%, and this is going to be 80,000. And then my ending work in process, they were 16,000 units. The question tells us the ending inventory is 30% complete as to direct materials. So this is going to be 30%. I'm going to use my calculator, find 30% of 16,000. So 30 divided by 100, multiply by 16,000. That gives me 4,800. So my totals will be 96,000 here and 84,800 here. So my ending units of production are, my equivalent units of production are 84,800 with respect to direct materials. And that is how you solve this question.